Well. Welcome.
I do think that's cool.
Get you every time, don't it? Every time. Welcome to another Financial Friday. Yes,
Oh,
I'm your host, Dr. A.D. Burns, and my co-host, Brother Minister James
oh,
Jones. How you doing, Brother Minister Jones?
I'm doing good, Pastor. I want to say
Good.
thank you for all my grinders that have been grinding it out with me, getting everything situated. So yeah.
All right. What they've been getting situated?
I got two people who actually committed themselves to lining up in pursuing the six figures. I myself I got somebody else looking to be like, hey, I can help you get to the next level. So they're teaching me how to do how to transition myself from to be a asset management profilist. I forgot the name, but it's like transitioning from a dude who it's like moving my properties over. So now I'm an asset manager
All
versus just being a property. Yeah.
right. Got
Yeah.
promoted.
Yeah, it's always levels to this thing. It's always levels.
Okay. All right. Well, congratulations.
Yes.
Always good when we see progress and we see ourselves climbing whatever mountain or staircase we have decided that our destiny is involved in. And so it's always exciting to hear when people are making their way to the top.
Yeah.
And so congratulations as you continue to climb that staircase.
Yeah, the goal is to bring everybody with me. That's the goal.
Right.
Like if I'm on step 2, I want at least 80 people on step 1.
Yeah.
If I'm on step 3, I want at least 80 people on step 2. So I always want people moving with me. I don't want to be by myself. So that's
and that's always a challenge. You know what I mean? For 30 years I've pastored, and that's always been my heart. To see people blessed. And I've delayed things for my own self, trying to encourage and build people up that they might be able to go forward. And it's always exciting when those who do grab hold to it and move forward. But it's challenging when you try to get people to want something that they should want, but they don't want it.
Yeah.
And so being able to identify those two different groups is very important so that you don't, use a lot of your time trying to motivate somebody who don't want to be motivated, because people say that they want it, but when they look at the work that you have to go into it, then all of a sudden, they do want it, but they don't want to put the work in. Sometimes they think it's easy because I look at you and see you driving around in your Rolls Royce and living in your, $5 million mansion over there on the lakefront, but I look at you and it seems like you doing it with ease. And so I don't know behind the scenes what you had to put in order to get to that level, And so oftentimes people look at you from the outside and they want to get to that level. But once you start telling them how to get there, then now they're not really wanting to give up things in order to have a better future.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah.
People are like, what do you mean? Well, hard work is a sacrifice. Why? There's a lot of stuff you want to do that it's just not lining up. I want to go out and hang out with the guys right now, but I need to study and make sure I can get this money done correctly.
Okay.
So those are some of the sacrifices.
Yeah, and that's important because oftentimes people don't realize when you look at the span of your lifetime, to spend 5 years, tightening things down and grinding it out so that you can live another 50 years of financial freedom, the sacrifice that you're making is worth it. But a lot of times the 5 years seem to be like a lifetime, and people don't want to do it. I see a grinder out there. Hey, Lady B. Hey, my grinders. No, that's James' line. Hey, my grinders.
Oh yeah. I love being a grinder.
So you have to say that. You have to say, hey, my grinder.
Oh, I thought I did in the beginning. What's up, my grinders?
That's Lady B out there. So
Yeah,
we've covered quite a bit of things, and I'm telling you, this small adjustments have really taken on a new meaning when we talk about small adjustments. And so we've been dealing with small adjustments for several weeks now, and I'm starting to see it manifest in the lives of different people around me that listen to Financial Friday. I'm able to see them willing to make those small adjustments. I heard one of them the other day. They was dealing with a challenge, and I heard them say that, you know, and that was, they didn't know that I heard them, but I heard them say that as they was dealing with that challenge, and they ultimately they got through the challenge.
yeah,
Whereas sometimes, when I see them in that situation, they, their emotions might get, go real high, and then they'll get either defensive or, you know, they'll shift on you with their attitude. And so when I heard them say that, I was like, all right, all right. I didn't say nothing to them, but I was like, all right. I hear them. I hear them. And so,
yeah,
and so seeing them move around and, really understand that small adjustments is the key to so many things. You don't get anywhere overnight. It's small adjustments, and small adjustments have such a great reward when you get to a place where you're willing to understand that it's not going to happen necessarily overnight. But if you keep making those small adjustments, you'll get there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
So,
that's literally what we're talking about today. Because when people are like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, that's how you accelerate. That's how you move forward. You got to make those small adjustments.
all right.
No Titanic size ship turns on a dime. It makes small adjustments to make sure it turns correctly, but it still can do a 180. It just takes
Okay.
a little bit more time.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and look that up. I remember years ago I was in a training, and they said speedboats turn on a dime, but cruise ships or battleships, it takes them miles. They have to go miles, you know,
Yeah,
to turn around. And so, we have to realize that we're not speedboats. You know what I mean? We're battleships. You know what I mean? And so it takes us a little longer, but it's solid because it helps us, even with iron, our sharpened iron, it helps us, it develops us, and it prepares us to be who we need to be when that particular time come, when we reach that destiny, or when we begin to see those manifestations. A lot of times people want the manifestation, but they're really not positioned to handle the manifestation if it did come, or when it came. And so it's so important to understand that even though those small adjustments seem like it's taking forever, is preparing you, is building you up, is changing your habits, it's changing your mindset. It's giving you clarity. It is really helping you to formulate this new person that you need to be in order to be able to handle that manifestation when it comes. And that's Burns' take on it.
but I like your take on it. It's just like everything else. That speedboat, as good as that speedboat is, when it's out in the ocean and it's dealing with waves and thunder, that speedboat isn't gonna last.
Okay.
Yeah, it can take on a couple small waves, but those big ones are gonna take it out.
Yeah.
That rain, that the storm is gonna take it out. You take a battleship into a storm, yeah, them waves look hard, but it's gonna eat through those waves.
Okay.
Yeah, that storm look like it's coming, but I'm finna get through these. I'm gonna tie down all of these airplanes, and we're gonna ride right through this storm and come out even better than what we went in.
Yeah.
It's because when you built for it, you can handle it.
Oh wow, you said something right there. When you built for it. So I'm on who out there in the chat. I need you to type that in the chat. Say I'm built for it. Say I'm built for this. Yeah, type that in the chat. I'm built for this. So you said acceleration, and that's what we're kind of talking about tonight. And oftentimes, I've learned over time that uh, clarity breeds acceleration. When we have clarity, we are able to accelerate. A lot of times we want to get there fast, but we're not clear where we're going or what we need to do. And when we have clarity, it creates acceleration. So we're talking about acceleration tonight. And so when you talk about that's it, I see y'all out there. I'm built for this. That's right. I'm built for this. That's right. I'm built for this. Yeah, I'm built for this. All right, Audrey, I see you. I'm built for this. Yes, that's right. That's right. You built for it. And so, I like how you say, them waves may come and storms may come, but we riding this bad boy out. We get ready. We're gonna buckle down at the plains and we're gonna ride this baby out because we get ready to eat some waves. We get ready to go through this thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we built for. We built for this.
So acceleration. So let's talk about acceleration.
So the biggest thing about acceleration is that, can we put the slides up real quick?
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about acceleration, it's all about getting you from point A to point B in the best way possible.
Okay.
So the biggest things we got to worry about, the biggest thing I want to convey to everybody is one, the definition of acceleration, the hope that comes with acceleration, and the application. So we're going to talk typically about the definition. So if everybody know it, it's a formula: 10, 10, 40, 20, 10, 5, and 5. And I'm going to always give this formula because if it works for me, and I know it works for everybody else. And you can utilize it and you can see where you are. It's not that we have to do the formula. It's just the formula works. So if you don't have a formula, look at the one that works. So this is James Jones approved. So I used the formula and it does work.
Okay. For those who may just be tuning in and maybe missed some of the shows, previous shows when we talked about that, walk them through the formula.
Okay. So when you get your paycheck, any paycheck you get, anytime you get paid, you take every dollar and you scrutinize it to put it inside this form or this format. 10% is going to God. 10% is going to the government. So when you write a check or when you get a paycheck and you look at how much you actually made, the gross, just know that 10% of that is going to God. 10% of that is going to the government. 40% is what you're going to be living off of. So you take your paycheck, your gross paycheck, and 40% of that is what you're going to be living off of. That means what you're paying your bills, with, what you're buying groceries with, how you're doing gas, insurance. And I know some people have already told me they didn't hit the 40%. They're at 70%. But like I'm telling you, small adjustments is how we will achieve what you're going for. So the first top three is God, country, and yourself. The second three is 20% goes to your investments. So whether you're doing stocks, bonds, or just investing in yourself, that's 20% of your income. The next 10% goes towards emergencies. So you're building up a pool so when emergencies happen, you'll be able to execute and not ruin or put behind what you have building up. By all the numbers and all the data that they have out there, the most Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. And also most Americans cannot survive any financial calamity. So in the formula, there's already a position built in for emergencies. So in case you have your car breaks down or you need a new car, in case you have your kids who need to go to any kind of football camp, in case you're released from your job or you release your own job. All those things happen for emergency purposes. So now you have a built-in 10% for emergencies. Next comes 5% going to your acceleration and 5% going just to your sanity. So your sanity means a lot to you. So you got to make sure that you are going to the movies, you are eating the burgers, you are having a good time. That's just your sanity. If you're doing a 30-day fast, you may not be eating burgers right now, but it's just you're going after your sanity. So if you like playing pool, go play pool. If you like skydiving, go skydive. The 5% for sanity is based for that reason. But right now we're talking about the first 5%, which is acceleration. This is how you pull yourself out of all the credit card debt, the loans, the bad or good loans. You're still pulling yourself out and you're accelerating how you're doing it. So that's the 5%.
Okay, excellent, excellent. And I see someone in the chat, and Ms. Brumfield says, I've been using this formula. And so we see the formula is being used and the formula does work. The formula is like principles. Principle work for anybody, anywhere, anytime. And so when you have a formula or principle or system, it works, and you have to begin to really work it because depending on where you are, how long you could see, the manifestation of the things that you're desiring. But if you stick with a formula, principles, if you stick with a system, you know, you will begin to see some results. Amen.
Man.
Amen. All right. Acceleration. Let's go.
Okay. So moving past that is the definition. So to accelerate is the rate of speed, velocity times. So this is how fast you can reduce your debt or how fast you can reduce debt or how fast you can increase your increases. So if you take $25 and the rate, so let's say you put $25 away every single month. By the time you get to 3 months, or by the time you get to 4 months, you're only at $100. So if you increase the rate, so instead of doing $25 once a month, you're doing $25 twice a month. So now instead of being at 300, now you're at 600. So instead of increasing your rate for 25, now you're increasing your rate. Instead of increasing your rate to twice a month, now you're doing it 4 times a month. So now you're at $1,200 versus $300. So the rate is how much you're applying. Your acceleration is how fast you can get out of debt. And I'll talk more about that as we go along.
Okay. All right. Let's continue.
Oh, it says I'm explaining it. Yeah. So the ideal of acceleration is not just for debt. So I don't want anybody to get confused. So debt is things that you owe to people. But when you accelerate, and you can also accelerate your investments, you can accelerate your finances, you can accelerate your emergency fund, you can accelerate almost anything inside the formula. Because of the fact that acceleration exists in your formula, you now have the ability to apply more money at a better rate of speed to anything in which you want to apply it to. So that's the benefit of having acceleration inside of your formula.
All right. All right. That's good. Why don't you want to put that in the chat? Because that's a good thing to put in the chat. Say type in the chat. I'm accelerating. I'm accelerating, or accelerate. Sound like a good T-shirt. I'm accelerating. Yes, I'm accelerating. Because you said you not only do you accelerate in paying off debt, you can accelerate your investments. You can accelerate the different things that you're doing can also be accelerated. So it's not just accelerating paying off my debt. It's accelerating my investments, accelerating my well, I guess CDs, and those are investments too, right? That's just
But you can accelerate. So let's say you have your friend's business. Your friend has a business, and you want to support your friend, but you don't. Right now, the formula doesn't look like you can afford to help your friend out. But if you take your acceleration and be like, instead of me giving it for my investments, I'm gonna give it to my friend's investments. So now you're accelerating your friend and moving them ahead.
Okay.
If you have a savings account, and I tell everybody the savings account is for a temporary purpose until it moves on. So now you're accelerating. Instead of putting $25 away, now you're putting $125 away. You're accelerating the point to hit $500. So now you can get another stock.
Yeah.
You can get a mutual fund. You can put yourself together so you can do more with your money faster.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you pass it. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, and that's very important to know that because, even though many people have challenges sometimes when it comes to sharing information, when you talk about, it's helping a friend accelerate, getting to a place when you following principles or formulas or systems, you will know that the way up is not you getting all you can get and canning all you can get. and they say sitting on the can and poison in the rest is really making sure that, because God loves people, so it's really all about people. So making sure that we're making ourselves available to help people. Now, as we said, or I said in the beginning, it's important that we make sure we're not you know investing a lot of time in somebody that really not appreciating it, or really don't want it. I'm trying to figure out a nice way to say that. You know what I mean?
You want me to say it?
but finding that balance, that you're not only just about yourself, but you're about helping somebody else.
So, Pastor, let me see if I can add on.
Okay.
Give yourself a criteria. You're not helping out anybody because you like them. You're helping out your friend because, one, the criteria is they're your friend. They're somebody that you trust. That's the first criteria. Second, they have a mindset similar to yours, because we all have friends that they're really good people, but they're really bad with money, or they're really good people, but they can't control their money. Well, that's not a good friend to invest money with, because your money is being cast upon the swine or dogs. However you pick it is not a good investment. But let's say you have a friend that is financially challenged, but they do have a good idea. And it's not that they're bad with money. They just don't have enough money to fund an idea. So you are able to take your investment and say, I believe in you. Here is an investment, right? You're not using your bill money. You're not using your own investment money. You're not using your emergency net. You're utilizing your acceleration to help someone else. So now that person is now growing.
Okay.
A good benefit of that is, let's say you have a friend that has a really good idea, or like a really good shop, or they already started their business. They went through all the headaches and they need to get over a hump, or they need to get enough to get a loan. Well, you have money coming in and you have a spot for it. So now you're just accelerating their idea. And as they're producing, so now they're producing. You don't have to continue to accelerate them. You can withdraw and say, hey, I'm glad you're up and moving now. I'm going to take this back and I'm going to go somewhere else, because that's what the acceleration is for. It's for increasing what you already have.
All right. I like that. All right. You said that real well. Yeah. I see him in the chat there. I'm accelerating. I see you. I'm accelerating. Elder, I'm accelerating. That's right. That's right. Okay. So let's go down a little further.
Okay. So remember, when you have your acceleration in your formula, you're not mishandling it. It's assigned. It's assigned to move you faster, whether in debt or in increases. You are assigning it to do one or the other. Right now, we're going to talk about hope. So as you're accelerating, this is hope, right? I'm going to give you a whole lot of hope. If you're listening, you can do this, right? You just got to trust the process, because acceleration does work. But like all things, small adjustments in the right direction will get you to where you need to go. Accelerating those small adjustments allow you to get there faster. So for all those who like, this isn't going fast enough, or I can't see the end, I'm telling you, if you utilize the process correctly, you can start accelerating to get there more faster. Not that you'll get there at light speed, but you will get there faster.
Yeah. And that's important, because, again, oftentimes what trips the average person up is they're looking at somebody else, And so you got to be careful when you're looking at other people that appear to be accelerating, because you do not know behind the scenes the sacrifices that they're making. And they may have more to work with than you have. You might have 5 kids, they may only have 1. So you got some mouths to feed, or you may have a minimum wage job, but they may have a high paying job, so it's all different types of factors. But the thing about principles or systems or formulas, they're not based on, they're no respective person, so a principle, a formula, a system, if you work them, no matter where you at on the scale, you could begin to see progress at your level until you get to a place where you at the level that you want. Did I
Yeah.
say that right?
Yes, you did. You said that right. No one's in competition with nobody. Trust
That's
me, we
right.
all got a journey to make. We all got our own journey.
That's important. That's so important because a lot of times people they get discouraged because they're not seeing the progress they need to make, or they feel like they can't ever get there because they're looking at somebody else who appear to be multiplying quicker. You know, so even like when you talk about your promotion with your real estate, you know, and somebody look at that and they be like, I want that. But how long you been in real estate? How long you been doing this?
like like 20 plus years.
Okay, so so they don't see that part. They don't see that part. And in those 24 years, uh, the 20 plus years, have you made any mistakes?
Tons,
You know,
tons of mistakes.
have you done some things that you wish you wouldn't have done, or you wish you could reverse?
Yeah.
And so you've been through all of the gamut of the highs and lows of starting something out from scratch, and then the learning curve of developing and maturing in that thing, and then the whole ups and downs of developing into the person that you're able to buckle down those planes and go through those waves and go through those storms. You didn't just get there overnight. You paid some dues. Am I right?
Yeah.
And so it's important that we understand that you could do it, and don't use somebody else to define or measure where you are.
Yeah.
You focus on your race,
Yeah.
and you keep making those small adjustments.
Yes.
You work the formula, and it'll just be a matter of time.
Yes.
I think I'm preaching.
What you are saying the truth though. You are telling the truth. People need to understand that I had a lot of difficulties. There wasn't a guy like me on back when I started,
Okay.
and now it's more prevalent, especially inside of different cultures, that financial literacy is how you win the game in America.
Yeah.
When I was coming up, it was more of a secretive, either or you don't know type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me finding the right person. So if anybody ever hear me say that story, it took me finding the right person. And then when I found the right person, I still didn't have it all. I just knew as much as they told me.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just kept going. I think some people heard the story. Yeah, I went through a lot. And I think recently we had a business, the business credit, when I was telling everybody you should come out to the business credit. And even there, I was still learning new stuff. I'm never afraid to say or to admit I need to learn more stuff, because you don't know what new technology or new techniques are out there to help you get to where you need to get to.
Listen, the world is too vast of a place for you to know everything.
Yeah.
And it's somebody out there that know something that you don't know, or different ways of doing things. I know in building this 8086 North 76th Street, this multi-million-dollar property, building that out from scratch, just taking that shell and just working that thing. I've done things, the electricians or the contractor or the carpenter or the different people, there are certain parts of that project that they couldn't figure out, but I figured it out. And I ain't go to school for none of those things. It was God's anointing and the revelation that he gave me. We could do it this way, or okay, what about this way? But the point that I'm saying is, even though they were learned and they made their money by doing what they were doing, they were still able to learn something. I remember when Lady B and we were building a house, and you know, uh, I was telling them how I wanted the bathroom, and they were saying, no, that won't work like that. And then I said, okay, if you do this and do that, and I had to explain it to them, and then they said, oh yeah, that will work. Now the funny thing was, we didn't end up building that house, but as we was continue to look at different model houses, that particular company they took that design that I told them and they start putting it in their houses. You know what I mean? But the point that we're making here is that there are things that we can know a lot about, but we don't know everything about everything. And
Yeah.
so one of my pet peeves or one of my mission statements for myself is that I'm a lifelong learner. I'm a lifelong learner. So even though I've been to school, I have a master's degree, and I've been pastoring all this time and all that stuff. I'm always learning. I'm always open because there's always different ways of doing things. And so, in that same sense, you have to be able to discern people who have what you need. There's people who have the knowledge that you need or the answer that you need, and they don't always look like you think they should look. I don't have time, but if I did, to talk about my when I was in Bible college and how I was ready to quit, and this homeless person was sleeping in the bushes, and I was sitting on this park bench, and I was I was just gonna say it. I was crying, and I was saying, God, I ain't gonna do this. If this is what it take, I'm done with it, and all that. And this guy was under the bushes sleeping. I didn't know he was under there. He came up and under the bushes and ministered to me, and I excelled after what he shared with me. But I don't know what life he could have been an angel. I don't know what life he might have been, a pastor that fallen or something. I don't know. But the point is, I could have said, man, you homeless. You ain't got nothing to say to me. You know what I mean? But, we have to be open to where God wants to send the information or the connections or to open the doors. We have to be open to that because the Bible say, give and it shall be given, pressed down, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, run it over. Then he says, shall men give into your bosom. And so the information is going to come through somebody else. My apostle, he says, favor is God raising up somebody to use their power, their ability, and their influence to help you. And so I'm saying, but if you closed off and you think you got all the answers or nobody can't tell you nothing, then you're missing out. All right. Let me say hello to a couple of people I see out there. Sandra, I'm gonna have to call you. How you doing? Tell Tyler I'm ready to go to that steakhouse. No, I'm not. I'm on a fast. Tiffany, how you doing, my sister? Thank you for tuning in to Financial Friday. So we're talking about acceleration. We're talking about how important it is that when we follow formulas, you know, making small adjustments, whether it be debt or whether it be investments, we can accelerate. And so we looked at the definition of acceleration being that it is the rate of speed or velocity or time, and it's how we can move faster towards reducing the amount of debt that we have, or even in increasing our investments. We're talking about acceleration. And so now we're talking about hope, having hope. And so in having hope, I was sharing my little 50-minute testimonies about how important it is to allow people to speak into our lives. And James was talking about how we should be competing with other people. I think, how did you say that we're competing with ourselves?
Yeah, we're only competing against ourselves.
Okay, all
You
right,
have no competitors out there but yourself.
all right. So let's talk a little more about hope.
Oh, yeah, I got tons. Let me go back. So when people hope is not like some people think hope is like a wish, but it's much more than a wish. Hope is the entry point to faith. So when you say I can get out of this, so when we say mantras, you're producing hope in your body. When you say, I'm in a bad situation, but I can get out of it. When you say but, you automatically eliminate the bad situation, and now you're telling yourself I can get out of this. And as you do those things, you drive hope inside of you. And as hope feels inside of you, then you have to start having faith, like, no, I can actually do this. So I'm telling you, we're at the entry point. Hope in yourself. Trust that you can get out of whatever situation you're in. And for everybody who's doing good, hope that you can do better. Have the information and say, hey, you know what? Where I am right now, I can do better tomorrow. And that's what I'm gonna. Oh, go ahead.
Now, interesting thing is, in some places in the Bible, the word hope interpreted expectation, and so when we say we have hope, I hope that this changed for me. In some places, that word hope is expectation. So I expect this to change for me. So hope is not a word like you said earlier, as far as it's not we just wishing that something is going to happen. Hope is because of my confidence in, whatever the formula that I'm using, that I have an expectation that things are going to change. I feel
There
so
you,
preachy tonight.
there you go.
Uh,
Well, sometimes people need a little bit of word in preaching.
yeah,
Word is never bad.
yeah. So we're talking about hope. Come on.
Okay, so the biggest thing that most people can do is when you do it, you gotta drive home hope. You gotta drive home hope until it becomes faith. Um, so out of everything you can ever think about in anything in which you do, if you don't even hope, if you don't even expect, you'll never see yourself doing it. So you are less than likely to do it. If it's a wall and you say I can't climb that wall, there's no way I can climb that wall, and you're shaking your head, guess what the expectation is that you can climb that wall, or you'll ever get to climb that wall, or you should even get the opportunity to climb that wall. It'll be zero.
That's right.
The person who's out there battling every day, like I come with tons of hope about everything I do.
Hmm.
If I'm going to do it, I'm hoping that I will accomplish what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Even when I fall down or the first attempt doesn't work, that doesn't stop my hope that I can do it.
Hmm.
It just means I got to get back up and try another model, or I got to try a different product, or I got to try some other services, or I need to get help or guidance.
Hmm.
I never stop pursuing what I'm pursuing, and I have been pursuing it for so long that even when I get knocked down, I tell people all the time, yeah, I just talked to one of my guys, and I went right back at it. And over time, people can see that success because your hope is still strong.
Yeah.
No one, no one may not ever see how much money you bring in.
Hmm.
Somebody may not ever see all the people you help. Somebody may not see all the seeds you sow, but they can feel your hope. They can feel your passion that you have for something. And then even if they don't see anything, they can listen to the words that come out your mouth and they can be like, I may not know a whole lot, but he got something. He got something. He got something in his eyes, something in his throat. I mean, it was a guy. I'm gonna tell you a story about this man. Now, a lot of people know him that if you ever played football, you know exactly who I'm talking about. Now, his team just lost. He was a football coach and his team just lost. He grabbed up a football and said, see this pigskin? This is a football. And from there, he taught just the basics of football. Not a whole lot of plays, just the basics of football. And they went on to win so much that the football trophy is now nicknamed after that same man.
Okay.
The Vince Lombardi trophy is a football trophy, and everybody knows it as the Vince Lombardi trophy.
Right.
And it's because he taught a basic understanding to the superstars that was rocking it, to the rookies who just got in, even to the veterans who was on their way out. He taught a basic system. And I'm telling you, this is your football. You got this.
Yeah. I'm not sure if where it went. Uh, I it went to YouTube. Uh, how do I get it to go to the other one? Don't ask you. But I just put something in the chat there, and I'll send it over to the other place as well. But I just put something in the chat, a scripture that we've been using, Philippians 4:13 and Amplified. I can do all things which he has called me to do through him who strengthens and empowers me to fulfill his purpose. I am self-sufficient in Christ's sufficiency. I am ready for anything and equal to anything through him who infuses me with inner strength and confident peace. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
So as you was talking, it was like, yeah, you're right about that. We are, you know, more powerful than we think we are, and it's so important that we really change our mind, begin to work on changing our mindset, because you know when you said, if you think you can, I can't do this, and I think it was Henry Ford said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So whatever you think you can do or whatever you think you can't do, you are right about it, because it's all based on what you think you can or cannot do. But according to that scripture I put in the chat right there, you know, when we look at how God looks at us, there's no doubt about it that we can do it, whatever it is, we can do it. Yeah, we can do it.
Sometimes people give up on themselves on the slightest of mistakes.
Okay.
And like that's one of the biggest things that I can tell you. Hope can give you that advantage. Because when you first start off and you make a mistake, it's not I can't do it. No, it's just a mistake. And I mean, some people hit a down slope and they be like, it wasn't meant for me. What do you mean? It's just a little bit of work. It's just a little bit of work. No one start riding a bike off of nothing. Even babies fall. Do you get the bike away from the baby? No, you put the baby back on the bike and say, go ahead. I'm here for you. I can catch you.
Yeah.
The same thing is true when you do new things. Mm-hmm. And then you don't expect it to happen. You don't want to fail, but it doesn't mean you won't slip. Right. It doesn't mean that some things may not go your way. Mm-hmm. You gotta have an expectation that if I work it and I come out right, it's gonna work. It's gonna do what it needs to do.
Yeah.
And then when you start having your small successes and the small increments start shifting over into the right area, mm-hmm. then your confidence will be there.
Okay. Yeah.
And everything start falling in order.
Yeah, and that's important to understand that. That's all part of the process. All right, so we seem like we got about 15 minutes left, and so we talked about the definition. We talked about hope. Now, are we ready to talk about application, or do we have a little more hope?
Oh no, we can talk to applications. That was the last of hope.
All right, let's talk about application. So we defined it, and we talked about hope or expectation, and so now let's talk about application.
Okay, now this is a bigger application is the biggest thing. So it's about 4 of them, but I made it into a one part so we can start getting through it or start chewing through it. But the biggest thing is doing SMART goals and debt snowballing. Mm-hmm. So if we have enough time, I'm gonna at least go for snowballs, and we can come back with debt snowballing. So a lot of people know about debt SMART goals. So I'm gonna just define it for you. So a SMART goal is to utilize the benefit of a SMART goal is to utilize your current income, and it preps you to move forward and make your ends reachable. What I was talking about earlier is that when you utilize your SMART goals, even though the screen did not work out the best way I thought possible. Mm-hmm. So the good thing about a SMART goal is that if you only bring in $2,300 a month, that income is what you're using. That formula, you're using the formula onto your income, and from your income, you're still accelerating. So it's not I got to get a second job. It's not I gotta do all my sales, or I'm gonna count some imaginary income, or I'm gonna ask someone to help me. It's utilizing the income you have currently, and then you're using that to excel where you're going from with that.
Okay.
So an example of a SMART goal is very easy. It's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound.
Okay.
So when people talk about what is a SMART goal, it got to be specific. Yeah, specific. I got to be specific when I talk about that. I'll tell you. Okay, so one of the big things that people often lose themselves on is how specific is it? Well, what is the money doing? You got to say what the money is doing. So if you want to have a new kite, guess what? Write it down. New kite. If you want to have a new car, write it down. A new car. If you just want to have money moving from one account to another, write it down. I want to have X amount of money moving to this account for this purpose. By doing that, you're very specific about what the money is doing. Remember, whenever you talk about money or your time, you got to assign it. It has to be assigned. Otherwise, it can float away, or it can get away from you. Or if you do it or don't do it, it doesn't make sense or it doesn't add up. So you
Mm-hmm.
got to be very specific about what the money is doing, and then you got to go to measurable. Can you measure it out when it comes to your time? I need to read 2 hours a day. That's measurable. I need to save $5,000. That's measurable. I can measure if I'm reading 2 hours a day the Holy Scriptures. I can measure if I'm saving $5,000 or if I'm in line to save $5,000. That's measurable. Achievable. If you work 16 hours a day and you have 10 kids, is it achievable for you to also read 3 hours a day? That may not be achievable. It just may not. If you have 35 children and you're driving around every day, is it achievable for you to make $10,000 in savings? That may not be achievable, right? You got to make sure that you are picking things that you yourself can do. Is it achievable for you to have 3 kids and be able to read bedtime stories to them? That's achievable, right? Are your goals achievable? Can I take what I have minus all my bills and put away an additional $100? That may be achievable. So you want to make sure that everything is achievable. Next is relevant. Are these things in line with what you want to do? If your vision is to be the world's best baker, a relevant goal would be to have a certification in baking. A non-relevant goal is to have a certification in aerodynamics. Would that help your baking? No. Being able to bake in different countries, would that help your baking? Yes. So one is relevant, the other may not be. The last one is time bound. Instead of saying I will do something tomorrow, today is the 12th. You can say I will have this done by the 15th. I will have it done by the 16th. That means you're putting an actual date on when this will be accomplished. By doing that, you now lock yourself in to that in what you speak. I'm hoping the next one is better, but I'll give you an example on the next one. Because I see how SMART goals and acceleration is merging. Okay. This is a SMART goal. By December 13th, 2024, I will have $2,000 in my money market to pay closing costs on a home. Is it specific? Yes. I'm paying for the closing costs on a home. Is it measurable? Yes. You can measure $2,000 over time. You can measure $2,000, or if you're putting away $2,000. Is it achievable? In this instance, yes, it is achievable, but that $2,000 I can have saved up to have it go towards a closing cost for another house. Is it relevant? For me, it is relevant that I will, since I'm in property management and I do buy properties, it's relevant that I will have money for the closing costs. Is it time bound? Yes, it has a particular day. December 13th is a Friday in December. What makes it significant is December 13th is one of the last days of the year before things start shutting down for the shopping season as well as for the military and or government. So if you go to December 12th, you'll be good. That's a Thursday. But if you go to December 13th, you will see that things are periodically shutting down because of the holidays.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure in my head that that goal is going to be achieved by December 13th.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what makes SMART goals: being specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's very good. You know, I've heard SMART goals before, and I've used SMART goals. SMART goals is challenging for me because of those areas. You know, making sure that they are, you know, specific and time bound and those things. But I'm getting better with that. You know, and so that was a very good explanation as well as example of what a SMART goal is. And so as we begin to plan out our goals, we have to make sure that in order for them to not be, when we're just wishing and hoping that something is going to happen from a wishing standpoint, not of an expectation standpoint. We have to make sure that there are smart goals, and then that helps to eliminate it, bring more clarity to it. It gives you more specifics as what you need to be doing. And I like the whole idea of being measurable, that you can see if you close or not close, or you need to step it up, or whatever the case may be. All right. And so we're talking about application. What else we got? Application.
The next one is I got 10 minutes, so let me see if I can get this in. The next one is debt snowballing. Let me see if I got that correctly. Yeah, so it's debt snowballing. So the way to do debt snowballing is one of the favorite ways in which I do debt snowballing, because I always got multiple lines open. I may have a couple loans open. I may have a lot of people getting paid and a lot of money going out and a lot of money coming in. So debt snowballing is one of the best ways I know how to do things. And it goes like this. One, you list all of your debts. Right? So if you got 5 credit cards and 5 loans, that means you have 10 debts out there. If you are past the debt period and you are just accelerating, you could be accelerating your emergency fund. You can accelerate your investments. You could be accelerating your sanity. You can be accelerating your living expenses. You can be accelerating in multiple areas. You can be accelerating your savings. Remember, you accelerating your savings to put that money inside another account, but you can accelerate in many different areas. You're not accelerating just to have money. Even though you are accelerating and you may have no debt, you want to make sure that acceleration money is being assigned to do a purpose. Otherwise, it's unassigned, and that means the money will be used frivolously. So when it comes to debt, you want to list all of your debts, and then you want to pay the minimums on every debt or line of credit that you have. And I will give you an example on the other slide. The goal is to pay the smallest debt off, and then you will take that money and then you will pay off the next smallest debt. By doing that, you will greatly reduce the amount of finance books. Oh my goodness. So my financial books actually change over time. So
just give her 3 that you off the top of your head that you either used before or you use it now.
Cool. Rich Dad Poor Dad was one of my favorites to ever get started. One of my favorites. When it says Pathway to Possibilities, if y'all don't know that's a financial book, y'all just, if you don't see it as a financial book, it may not be considered a financial book, but I literally like Pathway Possibilities because your vision helps your SMART goals, which helps you assign money faster. Another one is from John Maxwell. He's a really good author. He's a really good author, and I think it was the 5 principles of. I want to say it's the 5 principles. The 5 principles. I forgot the literature behind it, but it's John Maxwell. I know it's 5 principles. I forgot the another peak of it, but I'll tell you another one I just read. It's called How to Be a Rhinoceros. So that's another one that I like. So I gave you 4. Those books, if you read those books, you will have a lot of information that goes with it. The Art of it, it's a bunch of them. The Art of the Deal by Donald Trump, Robert Kiyosaki, Cash Flow Quadrant. These are all older books that I read that helped me come into this. So yeah. I am, when it comes to finances, I am really big on finances. So those things are really dear to me. So I mean, I like reading financial books. They help guide a lot of things.
All right. Tiffany said thanks. So she
oh, okay, yeah, you're welcome.
Got a bunch of them. Hey, Damika, thank you for allowing your husband and your boys to help pass out these last couple of days. So we're talking about application. We talk about application. We got about 5 minutes left, and so those were some very good application, and I like that. At first, I was kind of on the fence a little bit, but then in the end, when you said you pay the minimums and then you gather up that money so that you pay off the smallest debt, and then you repeat that. And so it's not that you just pay the minimums with no goal in mind, with no end game. Yeah, because if you just pay the minimums, you're paying a lot of interest, because the minimums usually only cover the interest and not the principals, right?
Yes.
And so, but you're saying pay the minimums with an end game of paying off that smallest debt.
Yes.
All
So
right.
let me go to the next slide, and I'll be right. So in the next slide, we can actually close on the next slide. So this is how a lot of I'm not gonna say a lot of people. Some people have this exact model. Some people have something close to that. So normally when you're paying off a debt, right? So you got 25,000, 15,000, 6,000. And it depends on just the way people live life. Like a decent car may be 15,000 and maybe 25,000. If you talk about a truck, you're up there with 40 to 60,000. It depends on where you are. If you want a luxury truck, it may be even more. But you typically are around these things. I'm not including insurance. I'm just including the actual payment of the truck or the vehicle. So for $20,000 at 20%, you're around $263. 15,000, you're around $156, and $6,000, you're around $75 per month.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just paid the minimums by the principal that I just gave you, it would take you more than 4 years to pay off $6,000. And I know I know that it may not look like you're going to take 6 years, but unfortunately, that's what it is. The interest plus the principal will still take you about 6 years to pay off everything. So if you was to take the $125 and apply that to the $75 at the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
so then you will pay that off in less than 2 years. I want to say 2 years to 2.5 years. That will be completely paid off, because you're putting so much money into it that you're paying off the principal more than you're paying off the interest. So the next month comes around, you're still paying off more principal than interest. So over time, you're paying $200 versus $75. So you'll be paid off in less than or around 2 years.
Now
But
go back to the slide before this one.
Oh.
So when we're looking at this slide here, we're talking about the minimum and then paying off the smallest. Now go back to the other slide that we were looking at.
Okay.
So is this the same debt when you say accelerate 125? Is that considered the list of debt that you have is 125?
No. So right now, the minimum payments for a debt of $25,000 with 20% interest is roughly around $260 a month.
Mm-hmm.
I believe when I did the math, about $180 is going over to your interest, and the remaining balance is going over towards your principal. At 17% of $156, when I did the math, I believe it was $130 are going over to your principal. $130 is going towards the interest, and the remainder is going towards your principal. At 10%, which is the lowest amount, but it also has the lowest interest rate and the lowest amount, you have the most money going towards your principal.
Okay.
Now, I'm not advocating to go for the lowest interest amount.
No.
I'm telling you to go for the lowest amount.
No, we're gonna have to give them a cliffhanger.
This
is gonna have to be a cliffhanger. Y'all gonna have to come back next Friday as we could continue this conversation on snowball debt. Our time is up. Thank you all for tuning in to Financial Fridays, where we are rising out of our financial slumps and thriving in financial freedom. I'm your host, Dr. A.D. Burns, and my co-host, Brother Minister James Jones. His closing comments, he's going to say, you got 2 seconds. What you going to say?
God bless. Have a good night.
All right. Well, listen, thank you all for tuning in. Listen, come back next week. This has been a great conversation. We'll see you. We are out of here. Peace.